Mystical City of God, translated from the original Spanish by Michael Kress, read by the translator. Dramatizations are also included. This is the full 4-volume Mystical City of God. Book 1, Chapter 2. On how the Lord reveals these mysteries and the life of the Queen to my soul, and the state in which His Majesty has placed me. To provide clarity throughout the rest of this work on how the Lord reveals these wonders to me, I find it fitting to explain at the beginning of this chapter the manner in which I perceive and understand them, as far as it is granted to me. Since I first came to the use of reason, I have experienced a grace from the Lord that I consider one of the greatest blessings. His generous hand has bestowed upon me an intimate and profound fear of losing Him. This holy fear has stirred and moved me to always desire what is best and most secure, to strive for it, and to ask it of the Most High. He has pierced my flesh with this arrow, Psalm 118, verse 120. For I have feared His judgments, and live with this constant reverence, concerned whether I have lost the friendship of the Almighty, or whether I remain in His grace. The tears caused by this fear have been my daily and nightly sustenance. They have led me, in these current times, when those who profess the virtues of the Lord must live hidden and unnoticed, to make fervent petitions to God. I have also sought the intercession of the Queen and pure Virgin, begging with all my heart that she guide me along a straight and upright path, one that remains hidden from the eyes of men. In response to my repeated petitions, the Lord said to me, "Do not fear, soul, nor be troubled. I will place you in a state and on a path of light and security, so hidden and precious that no one but its author will know you. From this day forward, everything external and prone to danger will be taken from you, and your treasure will remain hidden. Guard it carefully and preserve it with a perfect life. I will set you on a path that is hidden, clear, true, and pure. Walk in it." From that moment, I experienced an interior movement and was brought into a highly spiritualized state. My understanding was granted a new light, and knowledge was infused into me. This light enables me to know all things in God and to perceive His operations within me, as He reveals them according to His divine will. This intelligence and light are holy, gentle, and pure. As described in the Book of Wisdom, it is subtle, sharp, noble, true, and clean. It moves the soul to love what is good and reject what is evil. It is a vapor of the power of God and a pure emanation of His glory, placed before my understanding like a mirror. Through the higher faculties of the soul and an interior vision, I see many things. The object of this vision, illuminated by its own radiance, is infinite, though my eyes are finite and my understanding limited. It is as if the Lord is seated on a throne of great majesty, and His divine attributes are revealed distinctly within the boundaries of what mortal sight can bear. This vision is veiled, as though seen through a pure and crystalline medium, which allows these wonders and attributes of God to be known with great clarity and distinction. However, this veil prevents them from being fully seen directly, intuitively, or without mediation. Yet this veiling is not a cause of sorrow, but of wonder, as the understanding perceives the infinature of God and the limitations of the one who beholds Him. It inspires hope that, if the soul merits it, this veil will one day be lifted. When freed from the mortality of the body, the soul will see God without mediation, face to face. In this knowledge, there are various ways or degrees of vision, depending on the divine will of the Lord, for it is a voluntary mirror. Sometimes He reveals Himself more clearly, other times less so. At times, He unveils certain mysteries while concealing others, yet always displaying great marvels. This variation often corresponds to the disposition of the soul. If it lacks complete stillness and peace, or has committed even the smallest fault or imperfection, it becomes impossible to see this light as I have described it. When this light is granted, the Lord is made known with such clarity and certainty that there is no doubt about what is understood. The first and foremost truth revealed is the absolute certainty that it is God who is present and speaking. This understanding imparts a gentle yet powerful and effective force that compels the soul to love, serve, and obey the Most High. Through this clarity, profound mysteries are revealed, the immense value of virtue, how precious it is to possess and practice it, its perfection and security, and the strength it provides. This light instills a power that draws the soul to do good, opposes and combats evil, and often triumphs over passions and temptations. When the soul enjoys this divine light and vision and does not lose it, it remains undefeated. This light gives the soul courage, fervor, security, and joy. It makes the soul attentive and diligent, lifting it up with ease and swiftness. It draws the higher faculties of the soul toward the lower, aligning them in harmony. Even the body feels lighter and for a time seems almost spiritualized, freed from its usual burden and weight. As the soul experiences and recognizes these sweet effects, it turns to the Most High with loving affection and says, "Draw me after you, and we will run together." United with her beloved, the soul no longer feels the weight of earthly operations. Carried by the fragrance of the ointments of her beloved, she finds herself more where she loves than where her body dwells. She leaves the lower part of her being behind, and when she returns to it, it is only to perfect and reform it, subduing the appetites and passions that arise. If these passions attempt to rebel, the soul swiftly casts them aside, declaring, "It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me." In all holy operations and movements, the soul perceives the assistance of the Spirit of Christ, who is God and the life of the soul. This presence is felt in fervor, in desire, in the light and effectiveness of action, an inner strength that only God can grant. The soul senses the continuity and power of this divine light and the love it inspires. There is an intimate, constant, and living dialogue with the divine, drawing the soul's attention entirely to heavenly things and detaching it from earthly concerns. Through this, Christ manifests himself as living within the soul, his virtue and light shining unceasingly, even in the midst of darkness. This is truly to dwell in the courts of the house of the Lord, where the soul remains in the radiance of the Lamb's light, which illuminates all things. I do not say that it is complete light, but rather a portion, and this portion is a knowledge of the strengths and virtues of the creature. Through this vision, the Most High elevates the understanding, granting it a quality and illumination to perceive and grasp this power according to its capacity. In this state, the Almighty imparts knowledge that is as certain as the divine truths believed through faith, which also accompanies it here. In this state, the Lord reveals to the soul the value of this divine wisdom and the fire he instills within it. This light cannot be extinguished, and along with it come all blessings. From it flows an honesty of great worth. This lantern guides me, making my paths straight. I have learned it without pretense, and I desire to share it without envy, concealing none of its glory. It is a participation in God himself, bringing delight and joy in its use. At times it teaches much suddenly, humbling the heart with great power. It draws the soul away from the deceptive allure of worldly things, which, when seen in this light, appear as bitter as gall. This knowledge causes the soul to recoil from the fleeting and momentary, fleeing instead to the sacred refuge of eternal truth. There it enters the wine cellar of divine love, where the Most High commands charity to flourish within me. This charity compels me to be patient and without envy, to be kind without offending anyone, to avoid pride or ambition, to think no evil, and to endure and tolerate all things. Constantly this wisdom calls out to me and speaks powerfully within my soul, urging me to act with the utmost holiness and purity, teaching me in all things. Even when I fail in the smallest matters, it rebukes me with gentle firmness, concealing nothing, and guiding me always toward the path of righteousness. This light simultaneously illuminates, teaches fervently, rebukes, mortifies, and gives life. It calls and restrains, admonishes and fulfills. It distinctly reveals good and evil, the exalted and the profound, the breadth and length, the height and depth. It unveils the world, its condition, its order, its deceptions, its manipulations, and the fallacies of its inhabitants and admirers. Above all, it teaches me to trample upon the world, to despise its vanities, and to glorify the Lord, beholding him as the supreme master and governor of all things. In his majesty, I perceive and understand the arrangement of creation, the virtues of the elements, the beginning, middle, and end of times, their mutations and variations, the course of years, the harmony of all creatures, and their qualities. I see what is hidden, men, their actions and thoughts, and all that is far removed from the ways of the Lord, the dangers they live in, the sinister paths they follow, and the states and governments they establish, with their fleeting firmness and lack of true stability. I discern their origins and their ends, what is real and what is false. All these things are made known and understood in God through this light, which reveals people and their conditions in profound ways. However, when descending to a lower state, which the soul often inhabits, it retains only the essence and habit of this light, though not its full clarity. In this state, there is a limitation on the higher knowledge of people, their states, secrets, and thoughts that I have previously mentioned. Here, I only receive enough understanding to guard myself from danger and avoid sin. I feel deep compassion for others, but am not permitted to speak openly about what I know or to disclose it in any way. Nor could I even if I wished, for it is as though I were mute, except when the author of these works grants me permission and commands me to admonish a neighbor. Even then, it is not by revealing the full knowledge, but by speaking plainly, gently, and charitably to their hearts in God, addressing their needs as I have been taught to do. Although I have come to know many things with clarity, the Lord has never revealed to me the final condemnation of any soul. This is due to divine providence, which is entirely just, as the condemnation of a soul should not be shown without a grave purpose. Furthermore, if I were to witness such a fate, I would surely die of sorrow. This is a result of the knowledge granted through this light, for it brings profound compassion to see a soul deprived of God forever. I have therefore begged the Lord not to show me anyone who is condemned. If I can help save a soul in sin through my efforts, I will not refuse the task, nor would I resist the Lord revealing such a soul to me for this purpose. But if a soul is beyond remedy, I do not wish to see it. This light has been given to me not to proclaim its mysteries openly, but to use it with prudence and wisdom. I guard this light as a substance that vivifies me, though it is like an accident that emanates from God. It serves as a habit that helps me properly order my senses and the lower part of my being. Yet in the higher part of my spirit there remains a constant vision and abiding peace. Through this light, I perceive intellectually all the mysteries and sacraments revealed to me from the life of the Queen of Heaven, as well as many other truths of faith. These remain almost continually in my mind. I never lose sight of the light. If, as a creature, I find myself descending to human conversation or distractions, the Lord swiftly calls me back with firm yet gentle strength. He draws my attention once again to his words and inspirations, and to the knowledge of the sacraments, graces, virtues, and both the external and interior works of the Virgin Mother. These I will describe as I proceed. In the states and light that I have described, I also see and come to know the Queen and Our Lady when she speaks to me, as well as the holy angels, their nature, and their excellence. Sometimes I perceive and know them in the Lord, and other times I see them in themselves, though from a distance. To know them in themselves, I must descend to a lower degree of understanding, which I also recognize. This difference arises from the variation in the objects of vision, and the way the understanding is moved. In this lower degree, I see and speak with the holy princes. They converse with me and reveal many of the mysteries the Lord has shown to me. The Queen of Heaven also speaks to me, unveiling and manifesting the wonders of her most holy life and the extraordinary events that surround her. In this state, I can distinctly recognize each of these holy persons individually, perceiving the divine effects they impart upon my soul, each according to their unique grace and role. In the Lord, I see the saints as if reflected in a voluntary mirror, revealed by His Majesty according to His will and pleasure, with great clarity and profound effects. In this vision, the Lord Himself, the saints, and their extraordinary virtues and wonders are made known with an admirable light. It becomes evident how they accomplished their works through grace and in the power of the Lord, who enables all things. This knowledge leaves the soul abundantly filled with joy, as it becomes enriched with virtue and satisfaction, resting as if in the very center of its being. The more intellectual and less corporeal or imaginary this vision is, the stronger the light, the higher the effects, and the greater the substance and certainty it brings. Yet, even within this, there is a distinction. The vision or knowledge of the Lord Himself, of His attributes and perfections, is far more superior, and its effects are ineffably sweet and sublime. By contrast, the knowledge of creatures, even when perceived in the Lord, is of a lower degree. This difference, I believe, arises partly from the limitations of the soul. Since the soul's capacity is so finite, it cannot attend fully to both God and his creatures simultaneously. Thus, it knows and enjoys God more fully when focused solely on his majesty, without the mediation of creatures. The joy of seeing God alone seems more complete than the joy of seeing creatures in him. Such is the delicate nature of this divine knowledge that even the slightest attention to something else diminishes its fullness, at least as long as we remain mortal. In the lower state I have described, I perceive the Blessed Virgin and the angels in themselves. I understand and recognize how they teach, speak, and enlighten me, which mirrors the way angels communicate and illuminate one another, where the superior imparts light and knowledge to the inferior. The Lord provides this light as the ultimate source, but it is shared as a participation, and the Blessed Virgin enjoys this fullness to such a degree that she communicates it to the higher part of my soul. Through this, I come to know her prerogatives and sacraments, just as an inferior angel understands what is revealed to him by a superior angel. This knowledge is also imparted through the doctrines she teaches and the efficacy they have. It is marked by qualities of purity, exaltation, and truth, where nothing dark, impure, false, or suspect is found, and where all that is holy, pure, and true is fully recognized. The same occurs in my interactions with the holy angels. The Lord has often shown me that the communication and illumination within my soul is akin to the way they share light and knowledge among themselves. Frequently, this enlightenment flows through various channels. At times, the Lord himself grants the understanding, the light, or the object of contemplation, while the Blessed Virgin explains it, and the angels provide clarity in words. Other times, more commonly, the Lord accomplishes everything directly, imparting both the doctrine and the understanding. At other moments, the Blessed Virgin provides the entirety of the teaching, and still other times the angels do so. There are occasions when the angels give only the understanding, while I must find the words to express it from what I have comprehended. In this, I recognize the potential for error if the Lord permitted it, as I am a simple and ignorant woman relying on what I have heard. Whenever I face difficulty in expressing or declaring these understandings, I turn to my teacher and spiritual director for guidance in the most complex and arduous matters. In the lower state I have described, I perceive the Blessed Virgin and the angels in themselves. I understand and recognize how they teach, speak, and enlighten me. This process resembles how angels communicate and illuminate one another, with the superiors imparting light and knowledge to the inferiors. The Lord is the first cause of this light, but it is shared as a participation. The Blessed Virgin enjoys this light with such fullness that she communicates it to the higher part of my soul, allowing me to know the greatness of the Lord, his prerogatives, and his sacraments in the same way an inferior angel learns from what a superior angel communicates to him. This knowledge is also discerned through the doctrine the Blessed Virgin teaches, the efficacy it carries, and the qualities it imparts, marked by purity, exaltation, and truth. In these visions, nothing dark, impure, false, or suspicious is ever recognized. Only what is holy, pure, and true is revealed. The same occurs in my interactions with the holy angels. The Lord has shown me many times that the communication and illumination I receive internally mirror how the angels share knowledge and light among themselves. Often this enlightenment flows through various channels. At times the Lord grants the understanding, light, or object of the vision. The Blessed Virgin explains it, and the angels provide the terms or language. Other times, and more commonly, the Lord accomplishes all of this directly, imparting the doctrine and the understanding himself. Sometimes the Blessed Virgin conveys everything, and on other occasions the angels fulfill this role. There are instances when the angels provide only the understanding, and I must find the words to express it myself based on what I have comprehended. In this I recognize the potential for error if the Lord allowed it, as I am a simple and ignorant woman relying on what I have heard. Whenever I face difficulty in expressing or explaining these intelligences, I turn to my teacher and spiritual director for guidance, especially in the most complex and challenging matters.